So we do this one every month. If you're new here, we are being broadcasted simultaneously on Zoom. So thank you so much for doing that. If you and on YouTube, sorry folks on YouTube, I'm not really watching that so much, but if you are here in Zoom, the chat is available, and we do have Q&A. I do believe I have a little bit of time right after the call, so we can get rid of we can stop the YouTube stream, I believe, and then we can have a little bit of Q&A and things like that if you have any questions about any of the stories or any of the other ransomware things that we got going on today. And we definitely have a lot of stories to talk about today, as well as some numbers for the month of October. With that, let's get this thing started, ladies and gentlemen. So we do have a service that's probably going to go away at the end of this year. If you've been watching us on LinkedIn, we've been using the term ransom monitor. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to portray, but I do know that we're potentially going to be deprecating the ransom monitor brand. Maybe I don't know, but notice if you're on, I do know for going into next year, at some point, probably in January, maybe February. I got to get with Kimberly and Lisa about this one, but I believe we will be, just posting everything under the Barricade Cyber moniker. So if you're not following Barricade Cyber on LinkedIn, definitely, get over there. But here's all of our ransomware metrics that we've been seeing so far. So year to date, from January 1 to November 31st, we have seen a total of 8,465 victims. We are currently tracking at the end of the month of November, 120 individual active threat actor groups. From that, QLIN is definitely taking the top one for 771 victims. Acura is 550. Play is sitting at 312 victims. SafePay 360. Ink Ransomware at 266, and Ransom Hub at 215. Now, this is just a little foreshadowing, but I do believe CLOP may get up there for impacted victims for year to date, maybe because of the Oracle situation that they are partaking in right now. So they're typically releasing about 10 victims a day. So those numbers are still trickling out. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the rest of December. Top companies impacted, no surprise, the United States at 2,695 victims. Canada following up second at 265. United Kingdom at 181. Germany at 182. Italy at 123. I still get question about this from time to time. Why is United States always the top in there? And I think it's just because of our GDP. United States, we can go out back and talk about this if you want and fight it out if you want. But I do believe globally, potentially the United States is the richest country in the world. And it's not a political statement. I just think America has more capital flowing through it than any other country at this time. But love to be proven wrong on that one. Top industries: construction, and then we got health hospitals and healthcare, law practices, which we're going to talk about in one of the stories, IT services and consulting. So that could be your MSPs, your MSSPs, your DFIR firms, your solopreneurs, things of that nature, and manufacturing, which is nicely coming toward the end there of at least the top five at 133 victims. We definitely will be talking about a little bit of manufacturing today as well in the stories. Most targeted, I always try to make sure that we talk about micro businesses because organizations will tell me literally all the time, screenshot this and share it out with your client base. Micro businesses are definitely heavily impacted. Are they as much as the rest of them? No, but micro businesses, if you look at the numbers that we have, they are more impacted than even the large enterprises, right? So micro businesses from 1 to 10 employees inside of the organization. We're sitting at 378 businesses impacted this year. Should talk to Kimberly about changing this up from zero to 50 to say 11 to 50, but essentially 11 to 50 employee organizations is 1,274 victims. Going up to 200 employees, you're at 1,110. 201 to 500, you're sitting at 695 victims. 101 to 1,000 employees, you're sitting at 370. 1,001 to 5,000, you're sitting at 367. So, if you're a business owner and you're trying to figure out who to market your services to, I wouldn't go after the large ones. As you can see, anywhere from, say, you want to stay away from the micro businesses, go for organizations with 11 employees up to 200. You're going to hit the bulk of the organizations that are hit. And that's where we kind of sit in. Like, our firm doesn't do a lot of digital forensics above 500 employees. So the 501 and higher, we just don't see much of them come into, our organization, which is completely fine by me. Now we're going to look at year over year. Where do we stand this year compared to last year? Let me know in chat as well. We may have to do something, and we'll talk to Kim about this a little bit, and when she's helping prep these slides. Would you find it beneficial to see 2 years prior? How did we do in 2023, 24, and currently in 2025? Maybe an interesting metric. But at least for year over year, we are seeing, from last year, we are definitely increasing almost 3,000 more victims over last year. We are definitely have more active threat actor groups. More countries are being impacted, and of course, more sectors are being targeted in the space. So ransomware is only growing, ladies and gentlemen. As much as I hate to say it, it is a good business model for us, but being able to swoop in and recover. But more and more businesses are being impacted. 2025 shows a complete replacement to the top ransomware actors. QLin, Acura, SafePay, and Clop have overtaken every major player from 2024. That's exactly true. All right, so we'll have to figure out this particular one, but the top ones in 2024 in terms of a threat actor, Lockbit 3.0. I'm not really sure what really happened to 4.0. I think they kind of just abolished the 4.0 version. If you don't know, as of today, they released the Lockbit 5.0 page, and they're slowly starting to transition a lot of the previous victims over into 5.0. So we're going to have to try to discern, which victims were prior to 5.0 and give that credit, to the 5.0 variant of Lockbit. But anyway, last year at this time, we were heavily talking about Ransom Hub, definitely talking about the Play Ransomware Group, talking about Hunters International and Medusa Ransomware Group. This year so far, QLin is definitely up there in the top one at 771 claimed victims. Acura at 550, Clop at 360, Play at 212, and Safe Play at 266. And again, like I said, I fully suspect depending on how big the Oracle situation is, and I think there's still Acura may still be pushing out numbers or victims from the SonicWall incident. So this may still go up, but Clop and Acura are definitely trying to compete with QLin in the top numbers game, if you will. And like I said, the change for Acura being 117% increase is definitely a lot of the quote unquote 0 days that we've been seeing this particular year. All right, so QLAN, Acura, SafePay, and Clop have overtaken. Yep. This is significant leadership in the ransomware ecospace in the last 5 years. Looking at metrics for year over year, the construction definitely stays in the top. Healthcare is right underneath them, up 23. Legal is definitely increasing. IT consulting is definitely increasing, and manufacturing is increasing. If you notice here, manufacturing going from 54 to 133, it's a big jump. Plus legal 120 to 240. Yes, everybody's kind of jumped a little bit, but like healthcare hasn't increased that much. Construction has definitely increased a little over 100, but 120 for legal, definitely almost at 100 for manufacturing, but we're seeing a lot of manufacturing getting impacted right now. Go away, banner. All right, let's get into the news, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not seeing any questions in Zoom currently. And we're going to, just as a programming note, we will, I'll be running 2 stories back to back real quick, but we're going to talk about it a little bit, okay?
The hacking collective Scattered Lapsus Dolls Hunters has publicly declared it is ending its hacking spree, but security researchers warn activity seems to be continuing. For executives, don't take the announcement at face value. This group's tactics, social engineering, API abuse in SaaS platforms like Salesforce, and extortion remain a serious threat. Continuous vigilance, identity access controls, and monitoring for anomalous behavior are essential.
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier they were, I know this one's a little bit of an older story. It's going back to September. Just allow me some grace here. So in September they said, oh well, we're going to shut down and we're going to cease operations. But what they essentially did was stop talking, or they shut down their what we call a DLS in the industry, which is a dark link site, where a lot of the threat actors post their information at. So that's all they essentially did. Go forward, literally a couple months.
The cybercrime groups Scattered Spider, Lapsus Dollars, and Shiny Hunters have merged into a new collective called Scattered Lapsus Hunters, SLH, offering extortion as a service and launching coordinated data extortion campaigns targeting firms, including using the leverage of brand name recognition for affiliates.
Right. So they pretty much merged there, and they came out as, let me pull this back up real quick. I had it on my sheet just a moment ago. There's an operator who is claiming to be running it now. Just want to make sure I quote the jackwagon in appropriate fashion. That wasn't it. Bear with me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Again, like I said, I thought I had this handy. Just going to go through my links real quick. Yep. So this, I can't share this out specifically because the information is TLTP red. So public info, meaning able to actually share this information, the link and a lot of stuff. But the name is TLTP green. So, but essentially, Hassan Broker, HASAN Broker, announced portability to return almost certain, where the threat actor going by the name Hassan Broker announced that they are resuming operations under the actor's leadership. Hassan Broker further stated that he'll be recruiting individuals into Scattered Spider Lapsus Hunter Group, and will be trying to expand them. So they operate primarily right now in Telegram. There is a Telegram channel specifically dedicated to them. As part of our CTI, we monitor them. So earlier this week, they even said, POV, we stole 800 million European flight tracking data from multiple airlines thanks to the international beep line. Ooh, I actually little dolphin there. International Dolphin Sound Line Group. So that they immediately posted images of them going in to these organizations, right? So this one is British Airways PLC and International Headlines Group. So please make no mistake. The folks that are running this Telegram, it appears to be, this is my own personal pure speculation on this assessment, but when you look at human intelligence, which I did, you look at the grammar, punctuation, and things of that nature. They definitely act like the Lapsus group, where they're just very cocky, they're very over the top and boisterous. But you look at the nuances of the grammar and the way they structure their sentences and their phrases. It does appear there's two, maybe three people that are posting as the scattered Lapsus hunters. So, and they make it very, very clear that if they have not impacted you by now, that they will or already have. They just haven't gotten around to posting your information. They are very much at war with Clop Ransomware Group, and they've even shamed Akira several times for stealing the Sonic Wall 0-day bug that they claim to have developed. So, again, if you're been around in CTI for a while, you'll know that it's been problematic, where these guys are just very, very toxic in every way humanly possible, and they are not shying away from confrontation. So you definitely keep these guys inside of your close to your monitoring. They are. If you've seen the story about CrowdStrike stopping an insider threat from posting information, Scattered Lapsus also mentioned that as well. And that's where Scattered, essentially Lapsus Group originally was very, very known for buying access into the organization through compromised individuals. Like, we'll pay you so much money and, you give us access into the environment. So, all right.
The U.S. Department of the Treasury, together with its counterparts in Australia and the UK, have imposed coordinated sanctions on a Russia-based bulletproof hosting provider Medialand and related entities for enabling ransomware and cybercrime infrastructure.
Yep. This one is, I'm not sure how much traction this thing is going to get. Right. You're you're slapping sanctions on a hosting provider. Whoopie-doo. They don't do operations here in the US, right? Um, you know, there is an office for I don't want to speak incorrectly. If I think their registered business operations is in Russia, but I don't think they operate out of Russia. Like here in the States, you can buy access to like a Regis office or an a postal mail forwarding service and things like that. So that way you can have, you know, um, you know, quote unquote locations in multiple different geographic locations, and receive mail there and things of that nature. I'm not sure if that's what this particular situation is, but you know, I've seen a lot of their infrastructure being outside of Russia as well. So a lot of the IP addresses that we see will come out of Ukraine. We've seen some in China. We've seen some in South America. Are they? Do they have other ecosystems in other geographic locations? Probably, but it's still yet to be determined, right? So, at least I guess some people are going after bulletproof hosting. but we'll see how that kind of pans out. I don't know if there's really going to be anything really to be said about this. The whole dive in is down below. So over there in YouTube land, after this video gets edited, all the links and everything will be posted over there. So
Okta is warning customers that threat actors are carrying out social engineering attacks targeting IT help desk staff, tricking them into resetting multi-factor authentication, MFA, for highly privileged super administrator accounts, enabling the attackers to impersonate privileged users.
yep, if you remember, we were going back. Which slide was it? Yep. So IT and consulting right here, up 190. This is going to cause a problem, for both internal and the IT firms, right? We've seen Scatter Spider also doing this, making calls. They've even mimicked saying that they're pretending to be one of the head Mandiant folks, child that being sexually abused by his dad and stuff like that. Really posting that into their Telegram. Um, so there's a lot of social engineering going on for Okta. I'm not sure why they are targeting Okta. Um, I think it's very easy to discern through Okta's registration. You set up a bunch of subdomains, and it's like Bob's Pizza Shop.oktaauthenticator.com, I believe is what it is. And you can be able to quickly discern which organizations are using this very, very quickly just by subdomain enumeration. Um, so yeah, it's very, very interesting. Like, let's go on a rant. I feel very ADHD for a second. Let's do this. Dumpster.com. If I remember correctly, I mean, I'm going to be limited. Yeah. So yeah, this is exactly what I thought. So I'll blow this up. So like I use a tool called DNSdumpster.com a lot of times. Um, and you'll just start seeing ATI Worldwide, Acon, Alliance Data, Alley Ames, Alpine Bank. You see what I mean? So it's very, very easy for a threat actor to go through and just start discerning different organizations that use Okta and be able to, quickly, start targeting those individuals. Now, granted, there's more than just AW. I didn't log into my account, and this thing limits us to 50 results, I believe. Yeah, 50 results on a single domain. So the professional ones are able to, get a lot more, and there's a lot of tools out there. So I believe this is why Okta is a um, a high target and easy to be gained through. So if you have Okta, just keep this thing on your radar. Maybe even go through, simulated testing with your MSP, MSSP, things of that nature. Whoever's managing that type of situation. Is there a way to do, you know, I don't know if Okta has this ability, but I know Duo Security has this where, if you are locked out of your account, Duo is sitting externally and you can have the user authenticate by sending them a push notification in the Duo app. So that way they authenticate themselves. So is that the end all be all? Absolutely not. But it is something to look at if Okta has that capability. Again, I've never really messed with Okta at great length. I know the Duo platform a lot better than Okta, but yeah, take a look at that, see if that functionality is in there. Anything you'll be able to do to help authenticate the user in every way possible. I do know some organizations are using a passphrase of the day or a passphrase of the week. So you may be able to use that as well as a alternative to authenticate the user.
Okta is
No,
warning
sorry.
the hacking group Shiny Hunters claims it compromised Gainsight, a popular Salesforce integrated customer success platform, weeks after a major breach of SalesLoft Drift.
Yep. So over 200 organizations using Salesforce were reported by Google Threat Intelligence Group to have been potentially impacted by the breach of Gainsight connected apps. This is a downstream supply chain. Uh, so I guess the supply chain vulnerability, maybe. Definitely a third party vendor. You like you have in Microsoft 365 and in Google Workspace, you can be able to connect third party apps into your workspace and into your account where you can be able to, increase visibility, increase functionality, things of that nature. This is the same type of thing. So, hypothetically, you have a box.com account, you're integrating that into your Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace to, send out and use file sharing, things of that nature without being inside of your main tenant. This is kind of that same integration. They're connecting an external vendor inside of Salesforce, and there was some malicious activity, which has now been, which Shiny Hunters has claimed that they have gotten access to it. To date of this recording, Mark Tape, we haven't seen Shiny Hunters post any data yet, but we are definitely keeping an eye on that to see what potentially comes up from that. Such a development comes after Salesforce squashing all active accesses and refresh tokens linked to the gain size apps. Similar connectors access revocation has been conducted by Zendesk in the wake of the intrusion. This is something I did not know, that this Gainside app was actually integrated into Zendesk, which is a ticketing system that a lot of organizations use. Salesforce has stressed its refusal to fulfill a ransom demand by Shiny Hunters. I'm not really, my personal 2 cents, I'm not sure why Salesforce um, would be on the hook for the ransom demand. That seems more like a Gain Insight issue versus a Salesforce issue, because they were potentially compromised, right? So let me know what you think about what I think in the comments.
Delta Dental of Virginia, DDVA, disclosed a data breach affecting about 146,000 people after one of its email accounts was hacked. Compromised data includes names, social security numbers, government-issued ID numbers, and protected health information, a serious data privacy and compliance risk.
Yeah. So if you haven't heard about this one yet, stay tuned. From my understanding, dental data or data dental, let's just do a quick search because I'm full of ADHD at the moment. We use one of the sites I like to visit, ransomware.live, free resource out there. Um, let's see. I don't think they were mentioned. I could be wrong. It's hard to keep track of every last one. Yeah, it's not. So nobody has posted their information just yet in this particular situation. So we don't know who, unless this article actually says, um, they're just doing a cursory review. Go away. It doesn't look like it on a cursory review of this one. So unknown threat actors potentially got a bunch of information. We are seeing more and more of this. And from my understanding, um, Data Dental of Virginia, they are a cloud-based SaaS operation where you're using their platform in their system. Um, so it may have been just, they just got into their environment somehow. Sorry about that. But essentially between March 21st and April 23rd, this has a threat actor accessed and may have exfiltrated emails and attachments containing patent data from the impacted email account. Oh, so it's a BEC. Okay. The compromised information includes social security numbers, government issued IDs, and protected health information. Now, if this is what I think it is, and it is just a BEC, this kind of goes back to, I know it's a big giant pain in the backside for organizations. And sorry, this is going to get a little bit of a brutally honest cybersecurity thing, but I wish people would stop emailing blindly your personal information to an email account. Like even when we were moving offices and the new landlord that we were getting the building from was like, yeah, just email over your credit card information. I'm like, no, no, I'm not. Um, no, that's not happening. Right. Um, much less a social security. Like I'm always asking, like, is there a secure portal that we can upload this information to? So, you know, maybe for your end user training, start incorporating those scenarios into there. And you can use this article again. Link will be in the show notes in the bottom after editing purposes. But yeah, if you live in Virginia or um, you think your dentist is using the Delta Dental of Virginia, then you may be getting a notice in.
Delta Dental of Virginia.
Sorry, same story.
According to a new report, manufacturers are now the primary target of financially motivated cyber attacks. In 2025, 51% of manufacturing firms hit by ransomware paid a ransom, and the average ransom reached $1 million,
Hmm.
while recovery costs, excluding ransom, averaged about $1.3 million. Experts warn the risk is rising because many manufacturers still lack cyber expertise and robust defenses, especially as vulnerabilities, not just email or credentials, are increasingly the exploited entry points.
Exactly. Manufacturing, in my opinion, and what we've been seeing come across in our cases so far, especially this year, have gone up. And while we do say, um, just going back a slide to, manufacturing 133 victims this year, please keep in mind, this is the people who have not paid a dime to the threat actor. And, so their information got posted. I am of the contention that a a lot of these there's probably a 3-to-1, maybe even a 4-to-1 uh, delta from people who are impacted versus people who actually get their data posted, especially in a ransomware situation. Clop, Pearl, or Pear, um, Shiny Hunters, Lapsus Scattered Spider, or Scattered Lapsus Hunters, whatever the freak, whatever they're called. They post out their names before anybody else is done. So, um, but yes, manufacturing is highly, highly targeted. And again, this is not to be a political show by any movement, but the current administration um, has been very, very clear that they want to move more and more manufacturing back stateside here to the U.S. So this is why I'm saying manufacturing impacts are definitely going to go a lot higher. Um, a lot of manufacturing that we've been engaged in have not done, and it's kind of hard with some of these manufacturing organizations, but separating their IT and OT infrastructures out inside of their environment. So um, I'm not saying call Barricade, but you might want to call Barricade, or at least if you've got somebody that you're very, very close with, start getting them on the phone. Um, start talking about how to secure your manufacturing. Really start looking at BECs and looking at things of that nature, and make sure make sure that your provider is doing accurate dark web monitoring. Like, this is not to be a sales tactic by any means, but if you're in manufacturing and you're like, hey, I don't know if what we have on the dark web, give us a call. We normally charge a pretty good, decent amount for, a security assessment on the dark web. But if you're manufacturing, you call me and say, hey, I heard about this on the ransomware thing, then, we'll, we'll put together a sweetheart deal for you. If you're really, really wondering. So
A new report warns that hidden cascade risks in digital supply chains and interconnected systems can silently magnify. A small security flaw or third-party breach may cascade across suppliers, partners, and cloud services, triggering widespread disruption. Organizations should adopt holistic visibility across.
that's the wrong one. Apparently, I copied the wrong one down. My apologies. So this one is definitely. I want. I'll just read this one. Hidden Cascade: Why law firm breaches destroy more than data. Anybody in chat want to take a guess why? In the wake of Salesforce Gainsight breach, third-party cyber and exposure risk, the top mind for many CISOs. Professional service firms have often overlooked this context with disastrous consequences. Law firms, especially or specifically, are particularly vulnerable to creating downstream risk impacts given the nature and purpose of legal services and advisory targeting on the rise. The number of, let's see, their insight from Recorded Future AI. On October 9, 2025, American law firm Montgomery, Little, and Sorin PC disclosed a data breach affecting 8,941 individuals due to unauthorized access to its internal IT systems in February 2025. The threat actor accessed the firm through external systems, compromise and data exfiltration on February 28th. On October 12th, Daniels Law Group, LLC, and notified that an unknown threat actor gained access, unauthorized access into its file server, impacting over 5,000 individuals. Rupert Pete Montedov PC disclosed September 15, 2025, that a threat actor gained access to its systems, exposing PII of just under 5,000 individuals. In February, Cleveland Municipal Court experienced a cyber incident. This thing goes on and on and on and on and on. Ransom legal firms, whether you are inside of a now you just have to think about the amount of information that you have to provide legal counsel to handle just about any of your matters, short of a business to business operation or transaction. A lot of personal information is being sent over, and they keep that data for a very, very, very long time. We've had several cases this year from legal firms, and they've just simply just shut down. Like, you know what? We're just walking away, and there's just too much. We just don't want to deal with it. And they literally just shut down their practice. Do they start another one up next week? Who knows? I don't follow it that closely, but they are. If you think of a hospital having information that is beneficial to a threat actor, you haven't thought long and hard about a law firm. That's all I can really say about that one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I do greatly appreciate it. Like I said earlier, we do have a brutally honest security podcast that airs every Monday. God willing, as long as nothing's too crazy going on. I do have a lot of stories I'm queuing up for this Monday's episode, which I think is episode 6. So if you're on YouTube or if you on your favorite podcast platform, definitely look for the Brutally Honest Security Podcast. It'll look just like this on your platform, and register for all of our BECs. I've been toying around with bringing out another webinar or two going into 2026. Not really sure yet, but we definitely have Fortify 365 webinar that's still got 3 or 4 more episodes, if memory serves me correctly. So I'm thinking about bringing on a second one as the Fortify kind of pairs off. If you've missed any of that, definitely go over to youtube.barricadecyber.com and look at the playlist over there, and you can be able to check those things out. Um, Thank you so much for attending, and I will see y'all next time. Take care, all. Appreciate it.